34 seconds. That is how long it took the largest flying object ever built to turn into a fireball. It went down in front of cameras, reporters, and hundreds of people who had come just to watch it land safely. But only months earlier, that same silver giant had been gliding calmly over the German countryside. No engine roar, no vibration, no turbulence, floating as if the air inside it weighed less than the air outside. 245 meters long, nose to tail, a length almost impossible to picture. Seen from above, next to the tallest buildings of the time, it made them look like toy miniatures below, one enormous streak of silver slicing across the entire German sky, unhurried. Set side by side with the silhouette of a real ocean liner, it nearly matched it end to end, almost the same length as the Titanic, only flying up above instead of drifting slowly across the sea, and that staggering measurement is only the first of many strange facts in the story. To hold this entire monster on the ground, an actual army of men in coveralls gripped dozens of mooring ropes at once, all pulling together, in rhythm, shouting orders, each one looking like a tiny insect beside that enormous aluminum hull gleaming under the afternoon sun. It was born inside a hangar so colossal, so long and so tall, that it seemed impossible for anything to fit inside it whole, end to end, with no room to spare. Workers climbed scaffolding covering the aluminum skeleton, piece by piece, month after month, building the largest gas hull ever raised by human hands up to that point in history. Inside, a hidden corridor ran the length of the keel, almost invisible from the outside, a narrow walkway so long it vanished into the darkness ahead, where workers walked slowly, as if moving through the spine of some giant sleeping animal. Outside the silver hull, for gondolas hung below, hiding enormous, noisy diesel engines, one motor in each, every propeller spinning hard, pushing the whole structure through the air as if its weight simply did not matter to anyone. Its shadow covered entire fields as it passed overhead, almost like a brief blackout in the middle of a clear afternoon, and people stopped whatever they were doing, dropped their tools, dropped their work altogether, just to watch it cross the sky, slow, silent, too enormous to ignore. At the same time, crossing the Atlantic by ship meant several full days locked on a deck that never stopped rocking, people in heavy coats, clinging to the icy railing, seasick, pale, soaked in salt water, praying for the storm to finally pass. On one side, ship passengers battered by cold waves, days of endless discomfort, no real rest, no peace at all. On the other, the same journey made high above, over the storms, gliding gently through a sea of clouds, as if it belonged to an entirely different century. It crossed the entire Atlantic in roughly 60 hours, a fraction of the time any passenger ship needed for the same voyage, flying over storms, waves, and fog as if none of it could ever reach it up there, far above the dark clouds. By late afternoon, the entire German hangar turned into an anthill under bright floodlights. The ground crew checked every rope, every valve, every small detail one by one, unhurried, preparing for another crossing to the United States, in a routine that already felt completely safe to everyone involved. On the drafting tables of German engineers, technical blueprints covered the whole table, sheet after sheet, ruler and compass. Every piece of duralumin calculated to the limit, measurement by measurement, chasing the balance between light enough to fly and strong enough never to break up there. Up front, inside the glassed-in control gondola, experienced, focused officers navigated with compass, nautical chart, and a whole row of dials and instruments, adjusting course with a precision that felt more like a great ship than anything meant to fly through the air. In 1936, it flew low over the packed Olympic Stadium in Berlin, and the entire stadium froze at once, everyone looking up in the same instant, pointing, shouting, watching that giant shadow cross the sky slowly above them all. At the busy Frankfurt airfield, passengers boarded in suits and elegant dresses, smiling, excited, waving, saying goodbye on the stairs, treating it as the most modern journey in the entire world, the most luxurious and the fastest way to cross the ocean at that point in history. At dusk, it lifted off slowly over the German landscape, silent, almost floating, with a distant crowd still standing in the field, watching that silver giant climb unhurried and vanish toward the horizon, growing smaller against a sky already nearly dark. Inside, every small cabin had crisp white bedding, a tightly made sheet, a folded blanket, plus a sink with real running water, a luxury almost unthinkable for anyone traveling suspended in the air, hundreds of meters above the cold ocean. In the lit dining room, the table was set with fine porcelain and real silverware, crystal glasses, a crisp white tablecloth, a fully uniformed waiter serving each course, while outside the window, the entire ocean slowly slid by beneath everyone seated there. The main lounge even had a real grand piano, gleaming, built entirely out of aluminum specifically to weigh only 162 kilograms. And at night passengers gathered there to listen to someone play, almost as if they were in a real concert hall instead of inside an airship. The lounge windows were angled on purpose, carefully designed to give passengers leaning against them a full view of the ocean below, with no turbulence disturbing that rare moment, as if they were floating completely still in midair, suspended in the void. There was even a smoking room on board, cozy, almost secret, with leather armchairs and fine cigars. But this particular room was pressurized and completely sealed off from the rest of the airship, an extreme precaution nobody quite explained to the more curious passengers. Inside it, a single electric lighter, small, bolted firmly to the wall, because carrying matches or any loose lighter aboard the entire airship was strictly forbidden. No one questioned the reason out loud, but that reason sat right beneath everyone's feet the entire time, without anyone knowing it. On the promenade deck, passengers stroll slowly, admiring the clouds and the ocean below through the angled windows, in no hurry at all. Wicker chairs, thick carpets, walls lined in soft leather, like a first-class ocean liner. Aboard the Hindenburg, everything was designed to feel like the most luxurious hotel in the world, drifting calmly above the storms, far from any visible danger. A 14-year-old cabin boy crosses the narrow corridor between the cabins carrying a silver tray, balancing every step carefully against the aircraft's gentle sway. His name is Werner Franz, the youngest crew member aboard, proud of the uniform he wears. No one imagines that in just a few days, he will become one of the most remembered faces of this disaster. In the reading and writing room, decorated in Art Deco style, golden light falls on pens, inkwells, and sheets of letterhead paper. Passengers write letters home, relax in armchairs, talk quietly, with no idea of the secret hidden in the belly of the hull, right above their heads, kept for years. Years earlier, on engineering drafting tables in a German office, the designers drew this airship to fly on helium, a noble gas that simply does not burn. It was not carelessness or cost-cutting. They knew the risk from the very first line on paper, and they designed it right, thinking of the safety of those who would fly in it, years before any flight ever took place. The problem was that the United States controlled, almost single-handedly, nearly all the helium available in the entire world, drawn from natural gas wells in Texas and refined with its own technology. And a 1927 American law strictly banned the export of that gas to any foreign country, kept under guard in depots just like this one. Germany formally requested the helium from American authorities more than once through diplomatic channels. The request was denied every single time, without exception. In a tense meeting, German engineers and officials debate the impasse, faces heavy with the knowledge that no safe alternative remains, only bad choices. Without helium, only one option was left: hydrogen, a gas 14 times lighter than air and extremely flammable, able to ignite from a single stray spark, almost invisible. Inside the massive hangar, workers fill the airship's internal gas cells one by one with this gas, following each step in complete, focused silence. Up close, a worker carefully seals the fabric covering wrapped around a hydrogen-filled cell, layer by layer, stitch by stitch, unhurried. One poorly sealed hole, one quiet leak, and the most dangerous gas in the world could escape straight into the aircraft's own hull without anyone noticing in time. That is why the protocol was obsessive, almost religious, followed to the letter by everyone on board. No matches, no ordinary lighters allowed anywhere. The smoking room stayed sealed and pressurized, with a single electric lighter bolted to the wall. Even the crew's uniforms were made without a single material that could spark from friction. The most rigorously safety-conscious airship in the entire world was filled on the inside with the most dangerous gas that existed, not through any technical error by the engineers, but because of a political decision made on the other side of the ocean years before it ever flew. Now, fully built and completely inflated, it is pulled out of the hangar by dozens of men. May 3rd, 1937, in Frankfurt, Germany. At night, under the floodlights, the ropes are released one by one, and the Hindenburg lifts gently off the ground, beginning what should be just another routine crossing to the United States, as it had done so many times before without incident. 97 people are on board, 36 paying passengers, many of them wealthy and famous, and 61 experienced crew members, all settled in, calm, watching the airship rise serenely against the darkening sky, with no idea, not for a single second, that this would be the last journey for many of them. Werner Franz, the 14-year-old cabin boy, starts another work shift, polishing the gleaming brass in the officer's lounge with extra care, without a single complaint. To him, it is just another ordinary day of routine chores, aboard the largest flying object ever built by human hands up to that point. He folds the linen napkins with care, arranges the silverware on the table, calmly getting everything ready for the passengers' dinner, exactly as he was trained. It is small work, almost invisible to the people traveling, but every detail matters on an aircraft where the routine has to run like clockwork without a single slip. In the main lounge, passengers chat, read newspapers days old, slowly enjoying the crossing. No one shows the slightest hurry. An airship voyage is expensive, exclusive, and everyone there feels part of something rare, a privilege only a tiny handful of people in the entire world can afford. But the weather turns. Dark clouds gather on the horizon, and strong headwinds batter the airship over the North Atlantic, slowing its advance hour after hour, day into night. The voyage that should have ended earlier drags on, delaying the expected arrival in Lakehurst by several hours. Inside the control gondola, the captain and his officers lean over the nautical charts, plotting the safest course. Ahead, thunderstorms are building on the horizon, dark and heavy. The decision is to wait, circle the area a while longer, and only attempt the landing once the weather allows it safely. May 6, 1937. Late in the afternoon, the Hindenburg finally approaches Naval Air Station Lakehurst, New Jersey, after hours of delay. Below, the ground crew is already waiting, ready to pull the aircraft in toward the mooring mast. From the airship's nose, the mooring lines begin to drop, long and heavy, toward the men waiting on the ground. It is a routine maneuver, repeated at every arrival, the last step before touching down completely. The men in coveralls run in, grab the ropes hard, and start pulling, guiding the silver giant closer to ground. Only minutes, maybe seconds, remain before this airship touches solid Earth once more. Suddenly, a sudden flash bursts near the tail, against a sky already darkening. No one understands what it is in that first instant. Just the glow, unexpected, growing too fast to be anything else. Fire swallows the fabric of the hull at a terrifying speed, the metal skeleton glowing from inside the flames. 34 seconds. The fire spreads within seconds, engulfing the entire hull end to end, bow to stern. The hydrogen burns too fast for any crew member to react, and the metal skeleton collapses into a roaring column of fire and black smoke. In 34 seconds, almost nothing is left standing. Up above, people leap from windows and openings, trying to escape before the fire reaches the passenger cabin. The fall is several meters straight down onto the hard ground of the airfield. Some are badly hurt on impact. Others just run, stumbling away from the unbearable heat. On the field, radio reporter Herb Morrison holds his microphone, narrating the arrival as routine coverage, with no idea what he is about to witness. When the fire takes over the sky, his voice breaks live on air, and he weeps during the broadcast. It becomes the most famous piece of narration in radio history. Within minutes, what had been the largest flying object ever built by man becomes a pile of twisted metal, still burning, smoldering alone on the ground at Lakehurst. 97 people had been on board, crew and passengers together. To anyone watching from a distance, the scene looked like it left no survivors at all. In the middle of the wreckage, a ballast water tank bursts right above 14-year-old cabin boy Werner Franz. The water soaks him completely at the exact right moment and forms a shield around him against the fire closing in from every side. Drenched from head to toe, coughing, with the fire already at his back, Werner squeezes through a maintenance hatch he knew by heart from working on that airship every day since its very first flights. It is through that tight gap that he manages to escape the burning structure. Passengers and crew leap from the height of the burning frame, some from several meters up, with no choice but to jump for solid ground. Below, the ground crew rushes in to try to catch whoever falls, arms open, trying to soften every landing they can reach in time. Sailors and civilians from the ground crew do something that looks like madness. Instead of running away, they run straight toward the fire, right into the wreckage, to pull survivors out of the heat. That courage accounts for a good part of the lives saved that afternoon. The injured are rushed away on stretchers and blankets, many with severe burns over their bodies, while medics run back and forth trying to stabilize anyone still breathing on their own. Nearby hospitals are hastily warned to prepare for the wave of injured on the way. Werner Franz stands in the middle of the chaos, dazed, soaked, shaking from head to toe, without a single serious injury on his body. Someone drapes a blanket over his shoulders. He was 14 years old, and he survived the worst disaster in airship history. He would live until 2014. In total, 35 people aboard died, plus one from the ground crew, 36 in all. But 62 people survived, most of everyone who had been on that airship. The next morning, investigators comb through the still smoking wreckage, cataloging every twisted beam. In a meeting room, officials sketch out on a chalkboard the most widely accepted theory: a spark of static electricity meeting hydrogen leaking from the structure. To them, this is the most likely explanation for what happened that afternoon in Lakehurst, even without any definitive proof of exactly where the spark came from. An investigator examines up close a charred fragment of the airship's outer covering, studying carefully the composition of the paint used on that fabric. Decades later, this small detail, almost overlooked in the official report of the time, will still spark quite a debate among researchers. Years later, a former NASA scientist named Addison Bain tests in a laboratory the flammability of a piece of that same type of fabric, trying to prove that the paint used made the fire worse and helped it spread so quickly across the entire hull. In a modern demonstration, samples painted with that same coating catch fire at a striking speed, compared to others without the same paint. The theory gained traction at the time, but is still disputed today by other researchers who point to hydrogen as the true culprit. Historians today still comb through archival documents, weighing even the sabotage theory, raised soon after the tragedy, at a time of sharp political tension between Nazi Germany and the rest of the world. It was investigated thoroughly, with names and motives considered. It was never proven. The following year, movie audiences around the world watch in complete silence as the newsreel of the disaster plays, seeing for the first time, in real, moving footage, the fire swallowing that giant of the sky in seconds, a shock no printed newspaper could ever deliver. Today, the field at Lakehurst remains open, almost the way it was that afternoon, with a discrete marker on the ground marking the exact spot. And the exact cause of the fire is still disputed today, with no definitive answer, no consensus among researchers. The Hindenburg was not the deadliest accident in airship history, not even close, but it was the first one filmed and broadcast to the entire world in image and sound. It was not the deaths that ended that era. It was the image of the fire. And the question remains, what decides what humanity forgets, the numbers or the pictures?